Welcome to Sib Spot. Today's featured Reddit stories are from Am I the A-Hole? Story 1 today is by Mountain.824. Am I the a-hole for enforcing basic boundaries on my daughter's sleepover? I, 42 male, have 2 kids living with me, my daughter Anya, who's 17 female, and my stepson Noah, who's 14 male. Noah's mom passed a few years ago, and I've had full custody since. He's had a rough go of it, but he's a good kid with his quirks. He's not antisocial or shy, but he does not appreciate having his space invaded, and when very upset, he can kinda shut down. Anya is much more outgoing and has a lot of friends. She asked to have a sleepover this weekend with 4 of them. I said yes, of course, but given that the friends who were coming were pretty loud and have a tendency to crowd Noah, I told her to make sure they don't go into her brother's room. Also, to keep things down after 11 so the house can sleep. In my opinion, these are not strict rules. To my surprise, I came upstairs to check on them at about 10. They are 17. I didn't think I needed to check on them every hour or something, and they were in Noah's room. And they looked like they'd been there a while. 2 were literally sitting on his bed with him there. One of them was flipping through his sketchbook, another was messing with his stuff, and they were all kind of giggling in this weird way. Noah was clearly upset, but he didn't say anything or move. But there were tears in his eyes, and he didn't respond when I tried to talk to him. I told the girls to get out right then, and that I was calling every single one of their parents. Anya was pretty upset with me, but I told her that I gave them 2 rules, and they failed spectacularly. I did actually call all their parents and sent them home as soon as possible. Anya blew up, saying I embarrassed her. I told her to go to her room and that we would speak in the morning. I spent about 20 minutes with Noah before he decided he wanted to cool down on his own, and I went back to my daughter, who chose not to speak to me. It's late, both my kids are hopefully asleep, and I'm left not knowing if I handled things right. Am I the a-hole? There are some socially introverted people who will not say anything if you are in their space. But your daughter needs to learn how to pick up on cues from people like this, because she and her friends are going to make somebody very uncomfortable without meaning to. It's not intentional. I don't think they were there to bother him. But you made it very clear they should not go in his room, and they did. They broke a rule. Don't go in his room. Don't bug him. You're here for the sleepover. You hang out in your room. Given that she's not showing she had any awareness that this was a problem, I'm not sure you're going to be able to get through to her that some people are very uncomfortable and will not say anything. She's older, she should know better, and she should be able to follow rules. Our next story is by Jaranique3. Am I the a-hole for leaving dinner early after my boyfriend's friend introduced me as the current one? So my boyfriend, who's 31, invited me to dinner with his old college group. One of his female friends, who's 30, who I've never met before, came late, looked me up and down, and said, "Oh, so you're the current one. Cute." I was stunned. No one laughed. No one corrected her. My boyfriend just kind of chuckled awkwardly and changed the subject. I sat there in silence for another 20 minutes before excusing myself and leaving. I took an Uber home. He called me later and said that I embarrassed him by making it a thing and that I should have just been chill because she didn't mean anything by it. He wants me to apologize to her for walking out like a child. Am I the a-hole for not tolerating that kind of blatant disrespect? This kind of statement is not acceptable to say to somebody you do not know. Oh, so you're the current one. Like he goes through women constantly, and maybe he did at some point. Maybe he did in college and they all kind of remember that about him. Regardless, she doesn't know you. She should not make that kind of crude joke towards you. And the fact that your boyfriend just kind of ignored it and changed the subject, and the fact that he called you later and said you walked out like a child, I think it's time for you to walk out on him, too. There are plenty of fish in the sea, and this one should be abandoned. Our next story is by Euphoric Maine, 1357. Am I the a-hole for saying girls take longer in the bathroom? I've been working on a team that's designing a new sports stadium for my city. We got told that the stadium will be used for sports and concerts. I was stoked when I found out I got onto the team I beloved, as I had a lot of good ideas to make the stadium better than an average one. One of the ideas I pitched to the team was a bigger female bathroom compared to the male bathroom. This was because when I go to footy games and concerts, the lines for the female bathroom is always so much longer compared to the male bathroom. I'm a guy. One of the other people on the team said I was being a sexist jerk for implying girls take longer to go to the toilet. I responded with something like, well, based on what I've seen, they do. I'm not trying to be sexist, I'm just trying to reduce bathroom lines. They stopped talking to me after that. The meeting ends and I've already forgotten about the situation until the next morning when I get a message from the team leader telling me that I've been removed from the team for being sexist. The team leader wasn't in the meeting, so I tried to explain what actually happened, but they wouldn't listen. I wasn't trying to be sexist, just trying to reduce waiting times. So am I the a-hole for saying girls take more time in the bathroom? I don't think it's wrong of you to say that. Technically, most women do take longer in the restroom, but it's not specifically the toilet part that they're taking an excessive amount of time for. Most women spend a lot of time fixing themselves up in the mirror afterwards, so more space all around in the girls' restroom with more mirror room might actually make a difference. At a place like this where there's a big line outside, some people won't even go in if there's tons of people crowded at the sink. There are people though that would say this is sexist and you should just have equal spaces in both restrooms. Why not enlarge both of them? Even if the male restrooms don't have a huge line out them, enlarge both. Then this person probably would have been happy. I've known guys that can take a very long time in the restroom as well. But it's unfortunate that you got removed from something that you seem to really enjoy. Our next story is by C. Archer 4991. Am I the a-hole for taking unnecessary money out of my daughter's pocket? Basically, I have a daughter, Emily, who's 16 from a previous marriage. My wife, Sasha, has a son of the same age, Mark. Mark doesn't stay with us that often and prefers to stay with his bio dad. That being said, when he is here, I find Mark to be a pretty good kid, polite and respectful. His dad decided to take a trip for work in the last few weeks of school, so Mark's here for a bit. He's out of the house most of the time and doesn't take up much space. He does get kind of grumpy when there's too much going on around him, especially noise, but for that his favorite things are these expensive noise-canceling headphones, which he almost always has with him, a present from his dad. Emily's school has already finished, so she's home. The problem is that the room Mark is in sometimes has miscellaneous items put in it when he's not there, and therefore Emily seems to think it's fair game to go through his stuff. I've told her to stop, but Sasha hasn't been taking it seriously, in my opinion, saying that most of Mark's stuff is easy to replace. The big problem happened when Mark accidentally left his headphones in his room and Emily accidentally snapped them. Mark found out when he came home from school and flipped. He shouted at her, saying she was spoilt without anything to back it up, loud enough that my wife and I heard it from the other room. Sasha wanted me to calm things down, which I did, but I also told Emily she's replacing them. Thing is, Mark's dad offered to have someone get him a new pair immediately and said that it wasn't a problem. I said Emily would pay him back, and I'm sticking with it. Emily and Sasha think that's unfair, since Mark's dad can afford to buy 10 more. But I don't think you get to break someone's stuff and not pay for it. Those aren't the values I was raised with or what I want for my daughter. That being said, I do realize in this case it's kind of unnecessary and there may be better ways for her to make it up to him. Am I the a-hole? I don't think that you're an a-hole for doing this. I think it was a good choice. You're teaching her that there's consequences for handling somebody else's stuff. What I don't understand is why his mom, Sasha, is fine with her kid's stuff being broken, saying it can be replaced. That's a really poor attitude. At first I thought it was Emily that was breaking stuff and saying it's fine, his stuff can be replaced. But that didn't happen. It was the mom of Mark saying it's all easy to replace. I get the tiniest sense that she might resent his biological dad. She was totally fine with these being broken as long as they get replaced by the father. Seems silly. I think it's very important that you teach your daughter that there are consequences to her actions. If she breaks something of somebody else's, she should offer to replace it on her own. That's a really good trait to instill in somebody early on in life. Our last story today is by Addictions Understood. Am I the a-hole for not helping my broke friend because she got a tattoo? One of my friends has been complaining about money a lot recently. It's gotten to the point where 2 days ago she said she was so broke she wasn't able to afford to eat and was skipping whole days worth of eating because she just had no food. I felt sympathy because I've struggled with a lot of finances. I still do a little bit, but not as badly as I used to. Since I'm doing okay enough to right now, I offered to help her out with food. I do a budgeting plan with my meal prep, where I use these compartment containers and I make 10 portions of 3 different meals every 2 weeks. I rotate the menu based on what's on sale. Then I put them into my deep freezer. I have ADHD, so this works really well for me. I have a bit of extra meal stock at the moment because I don't always eat all the prepared trays before I make the next batch, since I always do it every 2 weeks. I have around 25 extra meals in my freezer right now. Since I have extra, I was originally just gonna not meal prep at the start of the week, but instead I decided to offer to drop my friend off some of my surplus so she has something to eat. I was gonna drop it off today after work, but right when I was getting off work, I was watching Snapchat stories and saw she posted one. She went and got a tattoo today as part of a Friday the 13th flash thing. I'm familiar with the artist who did the tat because I recognized their flash from their Instagram. I was considering going in for one, but I didn't do it because I don't really have the extra money right now. They're all pre-priced prices, and that one is $180. I don't know why, but it kind of pissed me off because she literally just told me about how she was so broke she couldn't afford to eat, but yet was able to pay for a tattoo. When I was struggling financially, I definitely didn't get tattoos. I messaged her about it and asked about how she was able to afford a tattoo, and she basically just said, "I'm always able to scrounge up cash for new tattoos." I then told her that I'm not bringing those meals because if she has enough for a new tattoo, she must not be that desperate. She freaked out on me and called me a B-word and said I was being classist and that poor people are allowed to have nice things. Which I do agree with, but I feel like it doesn't apply to this situation. But now I feel like an a-hole and my friend is mad at me. Am I the a-hole? Oh yes, you're classist because she decided she needed to whine to you about how she has no food, which is a need. People need basically 3 things: food, clothing, and shelter. You can make a little wiggle room for things like they need medical care, but you don't go to somebody and be like, "Oh my God, I have no food, I have no money, I just can't afford to eat," and then go get a $200 tattoo and say, "Well, I can have nice things." If you're destitutely poor to the point where you're taking free food from somebody, you do not then go spend something on something you don't need. You don't have to have that nice thing when you're taking from somebody else. And some people don't get that. They're just like, "Well, I have no money because I have this set aside for this thing that I just want, that I don't need." I don't have any tattoos myself. I'm not anti-tattoo, but they're not cheap. And if you're struggling financially, a tattoo is not a need. People should really learn not to spend money on something they just want that they don't need when they're struggling. Anyway, if she's always able to scrounge up the cash for new tattoos, then she can scrounge up the cash for food as well. I would just let it be. You're not the a-hole. She definitely is one. Our stories for today have come to a close until we meet again. Have a toasty day.